Good evening. I called over this regular meeting of the Verona Township Council for Tuesday, the 18th of February, 2025. Madam Clerk, would you please read the Open Public Meetings Act compliance statement?
The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been satisfied with respect to this meeting of the Township Council. The meeting time and date were included in the public meeting notice along with the public internet link and telephone call-in information. Said notice and the meeting agenda was posted in the municipal building and sent to the official newspapers of the Township, the Verona City Grove Times and the Star Ledger, at least 48 hours preceding the start time of this meeting. The agenda and public handouts can be viewed online at veronanj.org/council meetings. A public comment period will be held in the order it's listed on the meeting agenda, and instructions on how to comment will be provided at the appropriate time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Holland.
Here.
Councilwoman McGrath.
Here.
Councilman Roman.
Here.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy.
Present.
Mayor Tamburo.
Here.
Mayor also present tonight is Township Attorney Brian Aloya, Township Manager Kevin O'Sullivan, myself, Municipal Clerk Jennifer Kiernan, and CFO Jennifer Muscara.
Thank you. Would everybody please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I did not see Mr. Coltrane this evening, so I'll get right into my report. Just a few quick items. First, I want to take a minute to recognize Belle Lambert, a senior from the high school, and the valedictorian of the class of 2025 for being recognized as a candidate for the Presidential Scholars Program, which is very highly selective. So I wish Belle all the support from the township as she moves through several rounds to keep going. She's an extraordinary student and wonderful individual. So she's very deserving of this recognition. I had the opportunity on Saturday to go to the grand opening of Stacy's Sandwich Joint. I was treated to a wonderful pastry made in-house, and later did have one of their sandwiches, which I have to say was quite good. So I hope that everybody will patronize Stacy's Sandwich Joint. The family are volunteers in town, so it's great to see them start this venture as well. Over the weekend, I was very surprised to get a text message from Alert Verona saying that there was a water main break in front of my house. So that was a bit of a surprise walking out this morning. So of course, it was actually from my neighbor's house, but I want to thank the DPW for getting there very quickly and having the foresight to let us know prior, because my neighbors were able to get their cars out of the way. And they were working out there in the bitter cold and got the water main fixed prior to snow coming down. And the crew that was there went right from there to snow removal. So I give them a lot of credit. I had the opportunity to talk to them, and they just kept working and working and working. So it was very entertaining for my neighbors 2 houses down. Their 3 children, 2 dogs, 2 cats, 3 birds, all were really fascinated by this as well. We are entering budget season, which is Councilman Roman and my favorite time of the year for sure. But I just wanted to thank in advance our CFO, Ms. Muscara, as well as all of our department heads and our township manager and our former township manager for their work on getting this together. It's always enlightening to see how the government spends our money and really how lean we are here in Verona in many ways. Speaking of that, I would like to recognize that our new township manager is sitting up here, so everybody will be able to hear him all the time, right up in the front. So Kevin, welcome to the dais. We're happy to have you here, and we look forward to your official report from right where you are. The last item I have, we were invited by Denise Rosella, the president of the Verona Board of Education, to participate in a joint meeting. And that went to all the council members, correct? Everybody saw that. So I would like to bring up a new business or discussion and response on that. So I'm just going to put that in new business. And that concludes my report. I will turn it over to Mr. O'Sullivan, our township manager.
Thank you, Mayor. As you mentioned, we do have some
some discussions regarding budget tonight, so I'll be brief on my report. A lot of this is recycling what we've discussed in prior meetings. We do have a number of projects that have contracts awarded, and we are currently just waiting for warmer weather to break ground on a number of them. That includes the main pool improvements, finishing some manhole repairs on the Derwent Stewart trunk line. It includes the county's repaving of Bloomfield Avenue, the pickleball and tennis court project that we have lined up, and the town hall windows and repointing project. A number of those projects are ready to go as soon as we do see warmer weather. We did also receive bids for the Claridge Drive pump station. We received 8 bids for that on February 12th. They are currently under review, and we expect a summary and award recommendation for the next meeting. We do have a number of other projects that we are continuing to move forward and into through the planning and design phases. That includes a summary of our smoke testing that we performed throughout the town. We'll have recommendations from Boswell. You'll see that in budget discussions later. We are anticipating some capital line items for smoke testing response. Our Fairview Avenue well project is still working through the final few steps of the Green Acres authorization on our exemption application. Then we have a couple road paving projects which we are anticipating. We're working through the planning and design phases for Linden Avenue, and then the Dot Terrace, Afterglow Way, and Summit Road projects, which were those are all DOT funded projects. Aside from that, I will be happy to answer any questions from the council.
Any questions for the township manager? No, we appreciate your detailed memorandum. It definitely helps to prepare and ask in advance. You just have to sign it, township manager now. So
Yes.
one little thing. But thank you very much. We will move on to the budget discussion. Ms. Wascara, come on up. I might just make sure the mic is on, please, gentlemen.
Mic is on. Just will. You have a
Zoom.
Okay, everybody can see that, right?
Maybe we can put in capital some TVs so we can actually see.
Those are getting a little blurry.
We do have that in capital. That's a
Oh, do
funny.
you?
We
Oh,
do
it's probably
have it.
with the,
Yes.
I'm sorry, before we get started,
Yes.
do we have a hard copy?
There's a PDF in the.
Oh, okay.
email.
Okay.
And is there a copy for the public or they're just going to
This is
follow?
the draft.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Zoom.
zoom.
Let me know when you're ready.
You can start.
Okay. So, good evening. It's been a while since we talked about budgets. So, last year, our results of operation, our collection rate, again, was above 99%. As you can see, the last few years, our collection rate consistently stays pretty high, between 98 and 99%. All of our revenue categories last year came in higher than what was anticipated in the 2024 budget, which was fantastic, obviously. On the right-hand side, I put a percentage just to kind of give you the difference of percentage of collected versus anticipated. Our expenses, so our garbage and our recycling contract were bid out in 2023 for 2024 and through to 2028. And that contract came in 5% per year. Our medical expenses do continue to rise, about 14% each year. We'll see what 2026 brings. Our OPIU contract has expired as of 2024. So that is in negotiation. Our forester expenses is something that we haven't really budgeted for in the past, which you'll see when we talk about shade tree. But that keeps rising, and I think that will be a future conversation about the forester. But overall, the department heads did well. And there were a couple of cars that were needed in the fleet that were not expected. So they were able to kind of pull that from their own budgets and work through that as well as other expenses that came up that were unexpected last year, but they were able to work within their means. Questions?
Yes,
Okay.
I do have
Yeah.
a question, thank you. So the medical expenses, so just to remind us and the public, we are not in the state plan.
We're not in the state health benefits plan.
Is the rise based partially on Verona experience? Are we in a pool? Can we just,
We are in a pool.
Yeah.
I believe most of it is based on Verona's experience,
okay.
which they look at annually.
And is there a plan or, some analysis on, how to mitigate those increases in the future? And I know the state plan is also going up.
The state plan is going up. It is still higher than where we currently are at. They had, I think 2 years ago, a 24% increase, so they are still much higher than where we are at in our current health plan.
The, on that, the BMed does mitigate some of the risk that we have, some of that experience risk. It should at least.
Mhm.
As far as our offerings of plans, is everybody in one plan or are we offering different levels?
There are different levels
Alright, so
to that plan.
people can choose
Yes,
to go down a level or whatever.
yes.
There's been some success, I'll talk to you offline, with some that I've done my work.
Mhm.
With some creative ways that we could potentially incentivize people to take a plan that and do a difference card or something like that, that
Mhm.
could potentially reduce the premium, because a lot of premium is based on prescription, copay, things like
Mhm.
that, emergency room, believe it or not.
Yeah,
And if we are able to do, a higher deductible plan, provide a difference card, it could end up by actually saving everybody money, but I'll talk to you
Okay,
offline about
definitely.
that. That's coming up because with these 15% increases, we need to think a little outside the box, I think.
And Mayor, I would love to participate in that conversation. This was actually my
Mhm.
area of focus when I spent 13 years in corporate America, so I would love to be part
Sure.
of that.
Be happy to-
Certainly
Happy to have you.
had a extensive experience in this, which is why I asked. So yeah, I think it's important to keep an eye on this and in relation to the state plan. But certainly medical inflation is a top story, as it's really, those costs are rising everywhere. Great, thank you.
Councilman Rome.
Do we offer a wellness incentive?
we talked about doing a program within the last few years. It has not rolled out fully.
I think BMed is also exploring potential opportunities for wellness programs run through the BMed themselves. So it's not a dead topic. It is something that is being discussed.
Right, I worked for a couple of companies where we did
Mhm.
self-insure and where we had high plan utilization rates, and we found very substantial positive results from offering that. Just, basically for those that aren't familiar, that gives you a little bit of a discount off your premium if you do, 5 wellness tasks, go and actually get an annual physical, not smoke, do a couple other things, and it actually brings the employee's plan utilization down. It's pretty effective in bringing down your overall cost of care. So certainly if BMed is doing it, that would be an ideal way to do it, but that's a pretty well-tested strategy. So we can encourage that.
Just to follow up on that point, when a few years ago, we did those subgroups and you and I did the health and wellness subgroup, and it occurs to me that maybe our new town manager, Mr. O'Sullivan, does not have a copy of that end work product, so I'll make sure to send it over since we worked so hard on that.
And focused on employee wellness.
And focused on employee
That's one
wellness,
of the
so
tiers of
I'll
that.
send that over to him.
We'll continue this conversation offline. Let's
Sure.
just start, keep going.
Okay, this is a comparison between 2024 and what is projected for 2025. Each category you can see there, miscellaneous revenue anticipated, which is your fees, your delinquent taxes, your fund balance, the library, who is here tonight, as well as the difference, which is your amount to be raised by taxation. On the bottom, you'll see your expenses, which is categorized between your salary and wages, your statutory expenses, your debt service, your library as well, your reserve for uncollected taxes, and your other expenses.
Relating this to salary and wage, do we know what our comparison of full-time headcount is year over year? Did we go up? Right.
I did that last year. I could provide something as an update between last year and this year between full-time and part-timers.
That'd be great.
Okay. This shows you the municipal budget comparison between last year and this year. The increases in the tax rate, the average property valuation, the average tax per average property, and the assessed valuation. This gives you a history for the past 6 or 7 years, 7 years, showing you our municipal levy. This levy also includes the library as well. And then breaks out the municipal tax rate only. I'm sorry, no, it includes the library as well. And shows you your changes over year to year.
So if our total change in operating expenses is only going up 2%. So why then is the total change, including the library, going up 3.2%? What is making up that additional, is that salary
Debt service.
or debt service, or can you explain those differences? Or things outside of the cap?
Well, you're talking about the bottom number change from prior year, that does not include grants. So your grants at the bottom are not included in your total expenses. Where last year we had some more grants than we have on the books for this year. We also have
You mean like the American Rescue Plan in particular?
specifically that grant
Yeah.
was 700,000, so we are missing that revenue as well.
So the difference is partially because of revenue changes.
Revenue changes, yes,
Okay.
which you will see in one of the next slides as well. So the municipal change itself is out of that 3.20 is 2.88.
Right, on the previous slide.
Yes. Mhm. These are some of your major 2025 expenses that have increased. We talked about garbage and recycling, so that bid has increased. Our medical benefits. Police pension was an increase, but in comparison to others, not that big of a deal. Our salary and wages has increased. Like I said, our OPIU contract is pending currently. The PBA contract is finalized through 2026. And then lastly, the capital improvement fund. Last year was $250,000, and I increased that to $350,000 to include your capital that we will go over.
So we saw a 7% increase in wage. We're projecting a 7% increase in wages. So this would be as a result, just for the public's application. The contract settlement with the PPA was 2% per year. However, that's exclusive of the cost of moving them between steps. So a lot of this was step movement. Right, we have a younger force, we have people retiring.
Yes.
So that is the step movement that is there. The non-affiliated staff saw 2% last year. So that something to consider. I know I had asked, for an EVA contract piece to really get an understanding before we approved it, how much the step increases were actually gonna cost, and I know that, there, the OPIU is currently pending, but it would be
Mhm.
helpful for us to see that before making a decision on that, to see what that step movement and any other related restructuring would cost as well. These are significant amounts.
That's also where I was curious to see what portion of that is additional headcount as well.
I'll get that for you. Here's the breakdown of what the average annual tax bill is on the top, and what the monthly average tax bill is at the bottom, broken down by department. Specific, so. Average tax bill is projected to be $3,315, and then it breaks it down by public safety, the capital projects, the debt, the public works, gas, electric, garbage, recycling, admin, community service and recreation, library, and other miscellaneous services. This is a breakdown of your total tax bill, of how it's broken down, where about 50% goes to the schools. I don't have the actual percentage in front of me, but I believe it's about 20% goes to the county, and about 30% goes to the library and the municipality. We talked about the AOP funds. As of 2024, all of the ARP funds had to be allocated or spent, which they were. We used all of our ARP funds as revenue loss. So that has been reported. And that is shown there. Open Space Trust Fund, as you recall, recently we changed the ordinance or updated the ordinance by referendum to from 2 cents per $100 assessed valuation to 3 cents, which then will bring the 2025 estimated open space funds to be raised this year to $720,922, which is an average residential tax of $130.73.
It's important to note for the public there that a lot of that is being used to pay off existing purchases that we reserved as open space.
Mhm.
Do we know the status? Have we finalized the Green Acres payment for the land between Brookside and Commerce Court yet? Just-
We have cleaned up the issues that Green Acres identified. We resubmitted those requests to Green Acres at this point, but we've addressed everything that they asked us to.
So at that point, we'll actually, because right now, as it stands right now, even with this, we have to have that revenue actually to pay our bill. So,
Correct, yes.
so this is not, at this point, this open space tax does not necessarily give us that much of leeway to acquire more property. It will in some out years, but currently the way that this is operating is we still actually need that revenue in order to, in the next couple of years. Ms. Mascara did a detailed presentation of this at the Open Space Committee meeting, and we will be having another one coming up soon as well. So it'd be helpful to have an update on that
Sure.
as well. Councilwoman?
I would love to, I was gonna ask for that kind of breakdown, multi-year breakdown where we are. So if it was already done, that's great. If you could, if that could be circulated to the entire council, that'd be wonderful.
It's been a little while, so we'll probably need.
It probably needs to be updated, but
Updated,
yes.
yeah, that would be great as part of this process, because that was my question as well. It's one thing to say how much money is coming in, but again, we made a lot of purchases and granted, if we then get the Green Acres payment, then we should get a refresh of like, okay, now that we got the payment, this is how the Open Space Trust Fund looks every time money's going in.
Ms. Mascara did anticipate that into her last presentation, so when we have the update and we have a little better, things will know, you'll be able to see the anticipated at least.
That's great.
In that.
Thanks.
After tonight, you're gonna hear me talk for a long period of time. But after tonight, you will have, budget discussions again on March 3rd. For the other half of the budgets, we're looking to introduce, on March 17th. And have our public hearing and adoption on April 21st.
Any questions? Totality, I just had one item, Ms. Piscara, we are hearing from the public thoughts about the property revaluation and that this is intended to increase tax revenue. And I just want to clarify that this will not increase our tax revenue based with property tax revaluation. It leaves the same tax revenue, it's just a different, if you want to get into that a little bit.
Sure, so, with the reval, the proportion of the taxes will be reallocated to each property based on current assessments, based on, I'm not an assessor or a reval person, but I'm sure that they look at comps and based on what is currently trending, out square footage. That will then come into play and reallocate throughout the whole municipality, which will then in turn make your tax rate go down in 2026. Because now your assessed values are higher than where they currently are at. Because we haven't had the reval done since it was done in 2018 for 2019 taxes, but a lot has changed in the past 6 years as far as home sales. So that will reproportion basically the whole town's taxes.
And so I think that's important when you say tax rate. Can you tell the public what you mean by tax rate? Because some people are gonna look at this and say, oh, my taxes are going to go down. Well, some people's will go down. Some people's won't change, some people's will go up. So what do you mean by tax rate? You're talking about the amount per $100 of assessed value, right?
Yes, exactly, yes. And everybody in the municipality is charged the same tax rate. So it's tax rate times the assessed valuation divided by 100 gives you your taxes billed.
I think that is important to clarify and to report as much as possible out there, because there are some concerns about this, and we did not ask for this. This was mandated because of the fortunate problem we have, which is that home sales are dramatically increasing in this town in the last 5 years.
Yes.
The county ordered that as a result of those home sales.
And the tax rate is just not the municipal rate. It's also the county and the schools and the libraries and the county open space and our open space. So it takes all of that to come up with a rate.
If it would be possible to maybe put like in this, there was a good explanation, I think, that did go out to the public.
Okay.
Maybe just a couple of bullet points on how that will affect, just because people who are interested in the budget are gonna look at this presentation. And if we can insert it or put a link or a reference or something in here.
Okay.
To put people to the right spot, that would be helpful to get information.
Okay. We will move into the binders. I'm gonna have Claudine come up first. That way she doesn't have to wait to hear me speak for a long period of time. So that is tab 26. Okay. Do you want me to stand with you? I'm good. You want to have a seat?
Thank you for joining us this evening. You know how much we love coming here.
For having me. So this year, the library is not requesting funding above the mandated minimum. So New Jersey statute sets the minimum funding for municipal public libraries at 1/3 mil, or 33 cents on each $1,000 of equalized value of all accessible property in the township. The mandated minimum for 2025 increased by $91,486, or 8.73% over 2024's minimum. So 2024 was another busy year at the library. Total circulation was 112,237, an increase of 4,664 over 2023. Digital borrowing increased by 25%. We offered 145 additional programs with over 1,300 more in attendance. And these increases match the increase seen in 2023 over 2022, sorry. And we've exceeded the goal set in our current strategic plan of reaching 90,000 total circulation by 2025. Last year, we were able to promote a part-time employee to full-time, bringing the library back to its pre-renovation staffing levels. This year's budget allowed us to expand Sunday hours, and we are now open 12 to 5 on Sundays. The book budget gets a healthy increase this year to allow us to grow our graphic novel collection, buy multiple copies of bestsellers to better meet demand for the latest titles, add more Vox books to the children's collection, refresh our large print collection, expand the foreign language collections, and replace outdated nonfiction books. We will expand our Library of Things collection to match what neighboring libraries are offering. We will soon bring Android tablets into circulation, and we already offer free Wi-Fi hotspots. To meet the increase in demand for ebooks and audiobooks, the digital materials line item has been increased substantially to allow us to purchase more titles and expand our offerings. We will also soon add Comics Plus as a digital offering. We've added Udemy to the technology line item, and I encourage everyone to take advantage of the courses available to them for free with their library card. The PALS Plus annual assessment increased this year, and the line item reflects the cost of participating in this shared service. The library board and I will soon begin working on the library's next strategic plan. We see this planning process as an opportunity to assess how well our current approach is working and update our strategy to meet the community's current needs and interests. We will begin soliciting feedback from the community later this spring. I want to thank the council for its continued support, and I welcome any questions.
So I want to thank you for doing amazing work at the library. It really is one of the gems of this town. And the fact that you're able to keep it within the statutory minimum is certainly laudable. Then obviously it's increasing significantly this year, which helps. But it's also a testament to the Verona Public Library Foundation and the Friends of the Library who provide support as well for additional programming, which is wonderful. So I thank you for your leadership. We hear nothing but great things about the library, and it's really a gem there. I just have one curiosity, I think, more than anything else.
Yeah.
Your contractual cleaning
Yes.
service is anticipated to go down. Is that because we're sharing
That is correct.
a cleaner
With
with this building?
the Department of Public
Okay.
Works, correct.
So that, okay, so that's one item, and the one thing, I guess, for Jen Mascara is we don't, so when if the buildings grounds is providing a cleaner, we don't. Did we put that in as salary in this somewhere
That
else?
is in
Okay,
salary.
so a portion of that salary is in here.
Yes.
Okay. That is, that was my question on that piece, just as we're getting very. We're paying a lot of attention to breaking things down by
Mhm.
utilities and different departments and things
Mhm.
like that. That is helpful to have. That's really my only question. So, thank you. Anybody else? Councilman Rum.
First up, we'll reiterate the mayor's comments about appreciation for your leadership of the library. I really enjoy the fact that a lot of the metrics go into the utilization of the services and that you're really trying to match what the library offers with what the public demands and to continually evolve. You touched on the Library of Things. I know these programs at a lot of libraries, and I was kind of curious if you might just give us sort of the capsule summary of what the Verona Public Library offers in that realm.
Sure. So the Library of Things is essentially anything that's not your traditional, books and audiobooks that we lend to the public. So currently what we offer is we have a pretty extensive board game collection. We offer ukuleles to the public. We offer hotspots to the public. And so the Library of Things, how I would like to see that is expand is by offering tablets, potentially maybe some Chromebooks in the future. But things that, you know, it's kind of buzzing are things like actually wrote it down, so like outdoor games, DVD players, snap circuit sets that kids can take home and experiment with at home, a portable projector and screen that people can use in their backyards during the summertime if they want to have during, you know, block parties. So items like this that are non-traditional items that typically circulate in a library, those are all part of what's called the Library of Things, and it's kind of, you know, become popular in other libraries, and I want to see us be able to offer the same.
I've heard of libraries even offering such things as sort of specialty cooking utensils and tools
Yeah.
or
Bake
Wedding
hammers.
dresses.
hand tools, et cetera, you know. It's
Yeah.
a really interesting program, and it's, you know, you think about it, we're saving people money, you know, because, you know, hopefully everyone is able to use these things and they don't need to buy things that just end up cluttering up their house after they use them.
Sustainable too,
Right,
right,
exactly.
you don't have to buy it.
It's a great program.
I've heard great things about the museum passes.
Oh, museum passes,
Are very,
yes.
very popular.
They circulate all the time.
Deputy Mayor?
Chloe, I too, just like other council members, thank you for what you do with the library and your staff also. Obviously, there's a staff behind you that supports you and does what you direct. I would say as a council person throughout town, you know, we get a lot of complaints about things. The library is one, I don't think I can go through any emails and find a complaint in my email box.
Glad to
So,
hear that,
job well done.
thanks.
People are too nice. They don't yell. Councilwoman McGrath.
Thank you. Obviously very successfully here at the library. Congratulations. And I just want to state publicly, and we've had many conversations about this over the years. I am thrilled that the hours were expanded on Sunday. I think moving from 2 p.m. to 12 just really opens up the possibilities, which I'm sure you're already feeling in terms of doing programming, allowing people to use the meeting space, and just having a set of hours that, you know, kind of expands those opportunities, especially for families to gather on the weekends. So thank you so much for finally, you know, finding a way of making that happen. I'm really excited to see those expanded hours, and I know my book club will appreciate all of the additional copies of those hot bestsellers, because they're always hard to get their hands on. So thank you.
Councilwoman Holland.
I just want to echo the remarks of several of my colleagues. We get a lot of benefit out of the public library. My family is there frequently. My daughter is there very frequently. And I'm really looking forward to some of the expanded programming and offerings that you referenced. I even wrote down that this comic book.
Comics Plus.
Comics Plus,
Yeah.
like that will be heavily utilized in the Holland household. So I've made note of it. Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Claudine.
thank you.
It's a pleasure. All right, who's next, Ms. Viscara?
Just me.
Just you?
Yeah,
Alright.
just me.
All right, what's that?
All right, so we start from the beginning. Tab 1, we kind of went over in the presentation. Unless there's questions on tab 1. Same with tab 2 and 3. Well, tab 2 and 3 are basically summaries of revenue and expenses. So if we don't have questions on 1, 2, or 3, we can jump into 4.
I'm sorry.
Let's
questions
give us 1 second on any questions on tab 2. Councilwoman McGrath.
Yeah, so a couple of things that maybe are minor, but number one, on the alcohol licenses, we did raise that fee. So why are we not kind of bumping up a little bit the budget?
So the revenue aspect is sort of a game. And what I mean by that is you don't want to anticipate too closely to what you actually are anticipating, because then you're not going to build your surplus.
Okay. part of
Without
the-
building surplus, we don't have future
Fund balance.
fund
Fund
balance,
balance, right,
yes.
okay.
So a lot of them are a game of seeing.
Art and the science.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Then my additional question is
Yes.
under the pilot, so we now have
Yes.
Verona Flats. So why, I know the Verona Flat pilot, just to be very clear with the public, is going to look like a rounding error compared to some of these pilots that we see, especially
Yes,
the Hilltop and Annan Loft. It's gonna be a very small amount of money, but why
Correct.
is that not listed?
because that will start in 2025.
Okay. so
We
it
have
didn't
not
start
started billing it yet.
yet. Okay, and because we never had it before, you can't anticipate it?
Correct, yes.
Okay, I did recall a couple
Mm-hmm.
things. My other major thing is on the end of the last page. I've seen a lot of talk from Trenton
Yeah.
about the state energy tax receipts, and last year we got a bump up.
Mhm.
And there's talk that that is gonna be clawed back again. Which again, for the public's edification, the Trenton has kept, I think we calculated at least $1.8 million of money that is owed to Verona. By over the last 10 to 15 years, not giving us our full state and energy tax receipts. So, but I was curious with all of this talk, why is that anticipated to be the same if we are concerned it may go down?
So those numbers have not been released yet.
Right.
The state of New Jersey typically releases those in early March.
So you may make
So
adjustments.
we may have adjustments there.
Okay,
Obviously, it will come in before we introduce and adopt. So then
Right.
we can make adjustments.
okay.
Hopefully, we'll get our same state aid.
Right,
Any other questions on revenues?
anything on tab 2?
Probably call that state aid when realistically it's just coming off of the utility bill in every single,
And
household in Verona.
technically ours.
Yes,
Tab 3,
Tab 3 is a summary of all of the expenses, which we'll go over in detail, so I think we could skip over tab 3 if that's okay with all of you, because they will go over in detail in the rest of the tabs.
fine,
Tab 4 is administration. My plan for tonight, unless you see otherwise, is basically to go over the differences so that I'm not keeping you here
that's usually what we
for
ask.
hours.
So get ahead of it.
Okay, so salary changes, obviously, you know that we've had a town manager leave and we've had a new town manager. We also put in there a part-time salary. There was an intern who worked last year that was not budgeted for. And that is anticipated to happen again in 2025. So that's the major change up on the top in salaries. On the bottom, most of the changes is basically, so the public information officer didn't have a budget. The state of New Jersey doesn't recognize it as a FOCA code, which means it doesn't have its own specific code associated with public information. So we moved a lot of the items that were for public information out of communications and into admin. Only because that person reports to the manager. So most of the changes you will see here are basically the website hosting, which increased because we're moving stuff out of communications into admin. We're also using the grant writing specialist to provide more grants for us, which has been very successful and helpful to offset our budgets. Any questions on that one?
Tab 5.
Don't,
just
Just
the,
flip the page.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, just the community revitalization line, okay, we're gonna, we,
No, it's page 2 of tab
page,
4.
yeah,
Yeah.
page 2 of tab 4.
Okay.
So in administration and economic development, the large increase here is there was a request to update the shop local banners on Bloomfield Avenue. Replace the Christmas tree, not Christmas tree, I'm sorry, the Christmas lighting we started last year with replacing some of the lighting on the poles. There's also a cost for them to store it and to put it up. So that is all encompassed in here.
Just on that item, Mr. Sullivan, the new ones didn't go over very well with the public, so perhaps we can, maybe buy snowflakes in the future. Again, people were having a very difficult time interpreting.
The Calypso.
It was, like what exactly that was. So the snowflake seems to be a nice way. It was a crowd pleaser. People like the wreaths, but obviously there's a religious connotation to that to some extent. So the snowflake seemed to be a good piece, but yeah, the new ones not as popular. We actually got a lot of, at least me, got a lot of communication about that, like more than I will get about the budget. People emailed about that or texted or sent me pictures saying, what is this? Thankfully, Councilman Roman explained it to me.
On the next page, still in tab 4, is your budget. Which, I know, the same.
Just note for the public,
Doesn't
we have not
cover
had a
costs.
raise in how many years?
Yeah.
Jen Kieran?
5?
No.
No,
No.
like 15.
I'd say at least 9.
Yeah,
We should get cost of living increases.
a long period of time.
I think it's at least 15 years,
Yeah.
at least 15 years.
A long period of
We're
time.
very
Very long period of
reasonable.
time.
Yeah.
Best deal in town.
Moving to tab 5, if there's no questions on tab 4.
No.
So this is the clerk's budget. The major difference on the top is hiring a part-timer. There is a maternity leave in that department, so the part-timer, it will hopefully smooth things over while the leave is happening. On the bottom, so you may recall or you may not recall, last year was also the first year that we had a clerk and elections budget. It used to be an administration. So that created this budget, but this budget was massaged then again this year in seeing really what the clerk needed and breaking out some more lines, which is why some of the lines show 0 for budgeted in 2024, because we needed to understand what was needed and what wasn't needed.
Why do we have a local elections budget when we're not having a May election this year?
That is in case there is a
Like a special
election
Okay.
holder.
So that should be one of those hopefully fund balance items.
Hopefully. Any questions on tab
What's the
5?
And software.
the software?
The software is the if you want to speak, but it's the Oprah software.
That's gonna
That's-
tie into
I
our
have
record
5.
system.
I have 5 modules,
Okay.
so yeah, that's
Okay.
the
Well,
total.
ties into all of that. Excellent.
And then also codification,
Mm-hmm.
just a significant increase there, just curious as to why that might be anticipated,
Because
The zoning code?
the zoning.
zoning, okay.
Good.
Tab 6. Salaries really didn't change too much. It's contractual, so that's on the top. On the bottom, you will see that they did increase their annual assessment notification mailing. Postage just keeps going up as well. But a pretty minimal increase across the board on this budget.
Tab 7.
Tab 7. So this is the finance and tax collector budget. This year, again, you will see on the top, the only new item is a part-timer. So through the Verona High School, we had interns last year through the capstone project, which was very successful. And I ended up hiring one of the capstone students to come back and work during the summer. She also performed work over holiday break and would love to come back and work in the summer again, which will be very helpful again. we deal with maternity leave and
Congratulations, by the way.
vacations and everything else. So that was a great experience, highly recommended experience, and she's been a great asset. So that's why there's a small budget on the top. On the bottom, again, main increases are postage. Postage, I think, is now 73 cents.
Yes.
And continuously goes up. In number 6, we also are some of our internal records to Prime Point, which is our software who does our payroll system. That they're going to start doing our personal action forms online. They're also going to be having our which is more of an internal document. They're also going to have we're using Power DMS to push out the notifications for the policies and procedures. So this is going to streamline that, which is why you see a slight increase there as well under computer support.
Tab 8.
Tab 8, legal. Your main difference here is your 4th round of affordable housing costs, which are anticipated in line 3.
So. Councilwoman Bennett?
Nope.
Oh, I thought your hand went up. My purple vision is failing.
Okay, tab 9, the shared court with North Caldwell. I have a proposed amount put in there of 175,000, which is based on 55% of all of the shared courts. Verona is 55% of that share. And that is what they are proposing for 2025, our expenses to be.
And that was right around what our income is, right? So this is a cost neutral
Yes.
department for us.
Mhm.
Excellent.
Tab 10 is our boards, planning board, on the top, again, contractual salary increases. On the bottom, a slight increase. Their attorneys' fees were July through June, which has now changed. And their attorneys will now be paid January through December, just like everybody else. But with that change, the board attorneys recently got a raise a couple years ago, so that's kind of offsetting there. Zoning board, the same, on the top is contractual. On the bottom, there was a $750 increase. In general, but mostly flat on that budget. And then on the 3rd page in tab 10 is your rent leveling board. The top has remained the same. The bottom remained the same as well. The only difference here is that the attorney was recently approved. He also has not had a raise in many years. So he's more now in line with the rest of the board attorneys. Moving into tab 11. Is your IT budget. On the top, the main difference is that there is a possible new hire potentially for this department to assist the current full-timer as well as the part-timer that works in that office. So that's the main difference that you will see at the top. On the bottom, it's mostly contractual agreements have increased.
It's just, I guess this question is Mr.
Yes.
Sullivan. Has the workload increased significantly? So what is the justification for adding another staff member there?
There has been, I think there's been a slow climb in workload and, there have been, instances in which the IT department finds itself, stretched too thin to be able to respond in a timely manner to some of the more immediate and pressing needs.
So we're looking at this person to be more of like a support technician or something like that versus a network administrator.
It would be, somebody likely, at a similar level to the existing.
A generalist systems administrator, basically.
Okay. At 12,
Nope, we're gonna jump to 22, which is civic affairs, and then we'll jump into capitals. Civic affairs, the decrease you will see is $30,000 was moved out of this budget and moved into street and highways budget. Street and highway will present at the next meeting, so we will see that there, but that is the decrease. Decrease there. If there's no questions on those tabs, we will move into the very long capital sheet. Mine's highlighted, but I'm only going over basically half of them.
And can you just, the very first page didn't have
Yes.
column headers, so can you
Yeah.
just?
Okay,
No, I think I
yes.
figured it out on the following pages, just
Yes,
reconfirm what the columns are, that would be great.
okay, sure. So the first column is the total amount of what the bond ordinance would be. Projected out, based on whether it's quotes that we've received or whatever, so that's the first column. The second column is the minimum down payment that would be required. Not all projects are required a minimum down payment. Down payments come from the capital improvement fund, which you will see at the top is our balance of the capital improvement fund and how it works its way up and down depending on what is happening. Projects that don't require a minimum down payment are your grants like CDBG, your local recreation improvement grant, your NJDOT grants. So those don't require, which is why you will see 0 in the middle column. The third column on the right is your balance of your capital improvement fund after the projects have been, minimum down payment has been taken out of the project. So I will jump through these and really only concentrate on the administration ones, because in the next meeting, you will have the Department of Public Works come in and they will go over theirs. You will have fire and rescue come in, so I will only jump through, which I probably should have categorized them that way, but so the first one is the digitalizing records, which is about, I don't know, 10 down. This is phase 2 for the clerk and construction code. We talked about doing a 5-year rollout of digitalizing the records. Last year was phase 1, where we did $120,000, and we're projecting to do another $120,000 to digitalize those records. Jumping. Go ahead.
So the digitizing will help eventually to reduce our storage costs, correct?
Yes.
I mean, it's also
Yes.
required because we have so many open requests.
So in, we did not go over construction code today
Okay.
because construction code is in the next meeting.
Sure.
However, you will see a reduction. We typically budget about 45,000 there, and I think this year we're budgeting 5, which is the record retention. So you will see a large decrease,
Okay.
specifically in that budget.
Okay.
as well as the clerk's budget, but more of a decrease in the construction code department's
Okay.
budget.
I did notice that in Cork, there was a pretty substantial decrease. I think
Yeah.
it's down to like 2,000 or something like that. It's
Yes.
relatively low.
Yes.
Great.
Jumping down 4 from there is facilities assessment audit. You may or may not be aware of a facilities audit that we are doing on our buildings. So that cost is there. That will then give us an idea of what our facility needs are in the next cost, as well as some mitigation that we're currently going through now. If you jump 2 more down from there, last year we did a partial of the Franklin Street Bridge. This will be the balance of the Franklin Street Bridge. Last year we did 150,000 as a reminder.
So we haven't actually seen what those plans look like. We haven't had a conversation about what is needed there.
Right, the initial plan was to attempt to rehabilitate the existing pedestrian bridge, which is why 150,000 was budgeted in last year's budget. Boswell performed an assessment, reviewed the current condition of the bridge. While a repair could be made to the bridge, complete reconstruction was the recommended course of action because of the life expectancy of the new bridge compared to the repair of the bridge. So they have not yet completed the design drawings for those, but this is the supplemental funding to do a complete reconstruction of that bridge, at which point they will fully design those plans and be presented to the council.
Was the 150K bonded for and drawn down, or is that just still just an authorization?
It's in notes currently.
It's in notes. Okay.
That one, just as a reminder, we did a whole long bond ordinance last year, so it is part of a note in that one, yeah.
Councilman Holland?
And with regard to the facilities audit, do we already have a firm doing that? Is Boswell doing that with you, or?
We have a proposal from Solutions Architecture for an audit of all the township facilities. And then that second line item, facility needs, that is partially based upon certain needs that we know exist, in addition to a little bit of a guess on some items that we are assuming will be found in the audit. But that audit, once it's performed, will also provide a roadmap for subsequent years on what will be needed in our facilities.
Thank you.
Moving down, the next one after Franklin Street Bridge is Dodd Summit and Afterglow. I believe that you are all aware of that project since Kevin talked about that one, I think it is in his manager report. That is the cost estimate that we received from Boswell for that one. The next one is the Peckman stabilization for $310,000. After that, we have South Prospect drainage investigation and design. From what I'm told is that a lot of that has been done internally through the Department of Public Works. But there will be some additional work that will need to be done there.
That's there have been some modifications to some of the existing catch basins and the drainage infrastructure in that on those streets. However, we did want to be able to reserve some additional capital expenses for continued investigation and potential design if there are any instances where we have recurring flooding since the repairs that were made.
That's helpful, thank you.
After that, you have design of your 2025 NJDOT projects. That is a placeholder for the design, obviously, of the projects that are upcoming. Next, you have your open space trail design. Again, a placeholder for that project to happen for the design work only on that one. Technology at Town Hall and the community center. We talked about that with the TVs and earlier So that we just received a quote for that one. There is also is that official? 70,
It's been discussed, we haven't
Okay.
officially approved the ordinance, but there is anticipated some grant money which should be offsetting that estimated cost of 200,000.
To clarify, this is more than just TVs. This is all of our, conferencing and
Yes.
video, recording and public participation systems in these rooms, which are sorely needed.
Well, or not existent.
It's
The-
these this evening, just that we have none.
Okay.
Yes, Councilman, thank you.
With regard to the open space trail design, is this the Peckman River Trail that we're referencing?
So that is the placeholder what it's intended for. I know we are gonna be scheduling another open space committee meeting. There was some discussion about how to best utilize some of the open space that exists and has recently been acquired. So this 50,000 will allow the township to pursue concepts and preliminary design, so we can then also pursue grant money without having some solid concept and design plans in place. It becomes difficult to pursue those grants.
So if I'm hearing you right, it's not necessarily for along the Peckman, but it could be applied to the Commerce Court property, because we haven't, we kind of, when we bought it, told the public we would be evaluating different options. This money could be used for that evaluation.
It would be intended for any of the existing open space that is right within the vicinity of the Peckman, so I think it
Okay.
does correlate to what that overall
Okay.
concept could be.
All right. Thank you.
There, just one thought, I think we have some other things that might come up in the open space committee meeting that they're gonna review, so this may be not even an option at that point if the open space committee recommends something else, right? So we just need to
Sure.
keep this.
It's an open-ended placeholder to make sure we can move forward with whatever the recommendations of the committee and the town council are.
after the technology, you have streetscape design. After that, we've talked about solar. You had a presentation about solar. We anticipate going through the ECIA for that bonding, since it's a larger item. So that's why that one's kind of starred off to the right. There's also, we would have to discuss if the solar option doesn't work and is not pursued. Roof repairs would be one of those items that we would need to discuss after that. Which is why that's kind of off there as well. Next is electric vehicles. We have a grant for electric vehicles. Which we haven't utilized just yet, but moving in that direction. We're putting in $50,000 for electric vehicles.
And how much is the grant?
There's two incentives that exist. There's the federal direct pay incentive, and then there's also the BPU grant, which the total grant value for that BPU grant was, I believe it was 150,000. That was intended to be partial offsets for both charging stations and electric vehicles. So in order for us to begin drawing down on that grant, it's a reimbursement grant, so we need to utilize both of those, the federal direct pay and the BPU grant.
After that, you have the municipal parking lot park place extension design. Municipal parking lot 2 design. Again, these aren't construction, these are just the designs of those parking lots. Charging stations, as well as going along with the moving in the electric vehicle direction, we will need additional charging stations. Everett Field, we've talked about a lot. That one also has a CDBG grant of $100,000. We received a $750,000 Jake's Law grant. And there's fundraising currently going on for that one. some of the additional IT work that was given to put in for the capitals. Or extend the wastewater treatment plant fiber demarc. I gotta tell you, I'm not an IT person, so I can't answer questions on
Point of
what.
demarcation, that's physically moving the fiber.
What these specifically are, so if you need clarification, I could get it for you, but I will not have answers probably. A router replacement. A management server. PSE&G is also updating the fiber optics, and we were told that the township would be responsible for part of that upgrade.
Right, there's a responsibility as PSEG has come through and replaced a number of the utility poles. The township is responsible for relocating fiber optic cables, and then this also allows us to begin a health check on the fiber optic network to see if there's any breaks in the fiber optic line that need repairs. But it's time for us to start assessing the existing infrastructure to see if there's any needs on the fiber optic system.
These are our fiber optic
These are our fiber
lines, and so they're replacing their poles, but we're attached to their poles, so as they go through that, we need to upgrade.
We are relocating our fiber optic lines, and we also need to do an assessment on the existing fiber optic lines as well.
Okay, that was helpful, because when I saw PSE&G fiber optics, I'm like, why are we paying for PSE&G stuff?
And last in the administration, is the Linden Avenue NJDOT grant. So that amount is $840,000, and we have a grant that will cover 318,712. And since again, that's NJDOT, we don't need a down payment. On the following pages, shows you our projections for 26, 27, and 28. Just to give you an idea, obviously, I have to prepare a 6-year plan, but every year we kind of go through this and we'll adjust accordingly. I will save water sewer capital as well as pool capital for the next meeting when the department heads are here for those as well.
Any final questions?
Councilman Roman? Sorry, a 2026 question, why are we still using Cape backup in IT?
I don't know, I'll have it.
Yeah, it's kind of not done that often anymore. Unless there's a requirement for it, you used to ship data tapes offsite to Iron Mountain or what, and haven't done, that's all cloud based.
Yeah.
So it comes with an operating expense, but sort of straight tape storage.
That's where our IT questions go.
Yes, exactly.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mascaro.
Of course, and then I will see you in 2 weeks.
I have the, what do you guys got right, your last raise?
Oh.
I was low
1970.
with 99.
See, there you go.
It was a good year.
99. All right. Anything else, Mr. O'Sullivan?
No, that is all.
All right, my council colleagues, Deputy Mayor, your report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too was at the ribbon cutting for Stacy's Sandwich Joint with the mayor and Councilwoman McGrath. One of the newest businesses in town. It's nice to see these vacant buildings getting filled. Two in particular that were both dry cleaners in the past. So it was a very nice event, and I wish them well. They are one of the most recent members of the Chamber of Commerce. And that leads me to my announcement that Restaurant Week for the Chamber of Commerce is next week, starting February 23rd, Sunday to March 1st, Saturday. And we will be having a kickoff event at Nomada, the other newest place in Verona, from 3 to 5. And we're actually finalizing, I think it's going to be business owners, members, and they asked me to extend an invitation to the council also. Most businesses are gonna do either a prefix menu, discounts, or some type of special. You can look at the Verona Chamber of Commerce website to see what there's 16 restaurants now participating, food establishments participating. Some are just doing lunch specials, others are doing dinner specials. So look at the website, please support our local food establishments by joining them. And one other thing, the Chamber of Commerce has on the fourth Wednesday of the month, they do our second meeting, which is at 5:30 in the evening. And this week coming up on the 26th, we have Bryn Tillman. She's a CEO of Social Sales Link at these meetings at 5:30 at the library. We bring someone in to do a presentation for about a half an hour, and she's a LinkedIn specialist. So if anybody would like to join, the presentation starts at 6 o'clock. And that's all I have for this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilman Roman.
In light of the extensive evening, I will waive my time.
That is much appreciated, Councilman. Thank you. Councilman McGrath.
Thank you. I too enjoyed Stacy's sandwich shop opening. The pork sandwich is amazing. I congratulate her and her family for this great business. It really was a lot of fun. The Shade Tree Committee did have a meeting. They are finalizing recommendations for the administration and council on the Civic Center and some long-term planning that needs to happen. And so I wanted to give our town manager, Mr. O'Sullivan, a heads up. That should be coming shortly. They also talked at length about some work that's happening at Wedgewood Commons or Gardens. Excuse me. The Neighborhood Traffic and Safety Committee is having their first educational webinar this Wednesday on Zoom on walkable communities. They will be using materials that were part of the grant that we received from the Rutgers Institute. You can register online through our website, and it is at 7 p.m. And I'm so excited that members of the Multicultural Inclusion and Accessibility Advisory Committee are here, and I want to thank them for all their hard work and volunteerism. Their next meeting is on Wednesday, February 26th at 7 p.m. But most importantly, we have an amazing event for Black History Month this Thursday at 6:30 p.m. at the library. We have Verona entrepreneur Arlinda M., who will be putting on a fashion show and a talk about her experience, long career in the fashion industry. Her business is based in Verona. This is very exciting. So again, 6:30 p.m. at the library. And I'm very excited for Restaurant Week. Should be really great. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Holland.
Thank you. I'm also excited for Restaurant Week because eat out, and it reminds me of VMAC because we have our family night coming up in March, which is always a really good and successful event. VMAC also on February 12th hosted a webinar for parents and caregivers of younger children about parenting and positive discipline. We do have a number of other webinars and events coming up. I just mentioned Family Night in March. We also have another webinar about building self-esteem coming up on March 19th. Usually we would be having a Recreation Advisory Committee meeting tomorrow night. That's been rescheduled, or actually tonight. Sorry, that was rescheduled because of the council meeting. It will actually be next week on February 25th. During that meeting, we will be having a discussion about turf versus grass fields. There will be representatives from Sustainable Verona there to discuss their report and their recommendations for grass fields, as well as a representative speaking about turf fields with a lot of experience in the industry with regard to turf fields. So that should be a very positive discussion with a lot of feedback from residents and the Rec Advisory Committee. In addition, I just want to note the extreme cold temperatures. Our DPW is doing a great job. I'm sure that we've had residents that have been similarly affected or have had pipes similarly affected. And I just want to remind residents that during these times of cold weather, if you're having difficulty paying your utility bills, The winter termination program continues until the middle of March. So please avail yourself of that program if you have a need. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilwoman. This time, I'm going to open the meeting for public comment on any item any member of the public wishes to bring before the council. Madam Clerk, would you please read the public participation statement?
The public wishing to speak on any matter, please, if you're attending by Zoom, raise your hand by pressing the raise hand button on your monitor. If you're dialing in by phone, press *9. If you are attending in person, please raise your hand before approaching the lectern. Once you're recognized, clearly state only your name and township of residence for the record. You're not required to provide your street address. However, if you do, please note that these meetings will be posted on the township's YouTube channel and addresses will not be redacted for any purpose. You'll have 4 minutes to address the council. There will be no cross dialogue during this public portion after everyone wishing to speak has been heard. The council may address your comments and/or questions.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Anybody in the gallery? Daniel, anything to say? Okay. Anybody at home? Okay, I hereby close public comments. We are moving on to our hearing adoption or amendment of ordinances. Madam Clerk, the next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2025-03. On second reading, would you please read the title of this ordinance into the record?
An ordinance to amend chapter A 565-1, schedule of fees of the township code to clarify stormwater permit fees.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would somebody care to move this ordinance?
So move.
Motion is made by the deputy mayor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second is made by Councilman Roman. This time I'll open for the public comment. Public hearing on ordinance number 2025-03. The same public comment statement applies as read before. However, comments are limited to this ordinance. Hearing none, I close public comment. Any council discussion? Hearing no council discussion, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes.
Mayor Tamboro.
Yes.
Mayor ordinance 2025-03 passes 5-0 and it will be published according to law.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2025-04 on second reading. Would you please read the title of this ordinance into the record?
An ordinance to amend chapter A 565-7 of the Code of the Township of Verona, pool fees.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would somebody move this ordinance, please?
So moved.
Motion is made by Councilwoman Holland. Is there a second?
Second.
Second is made by Councilwoman McGrath. This now is the time for public hearing on ordinance number 2025-04. Same public comment statement applied. Seeing no public comment, I close public comment on this item. Is there any council discussion? Chair recognizes Councilwoman McGrath.
I just want to thank the public for providing a lot of feedback during this very comprehensive process, as well as thanking the administration for its hard work on being very responsive to our concerns, the concerns raised by the Recreation Advisory Committee and the public. There's a lot of ideas that have been shared and requests made of the administration. I look forward to you executing on that plan. And I look forward to what I hope to be a very fun pool season. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
I too would like to echo thanks that Councilwoman McGrath, all the people she thanked, but also Ed, our rec department, who did put a lot of time and presentation of that and really got us all the information that we needed during this whole process, which took a very long time. So thank them and thank everybody else, the administration, for all their help.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilwoman Holland.
Thank you. I would like to thank the administration and the rec department for putting the effort in to truly analyze the costs associated with running the pool. This is the first year that we've had such a comprehensive analysis going into formulating the rates. It felt challenging at times, but I think it was necessary because I found that prior years, the budgeting process and the rate setting process for the pool felt like very much like it was based on feelings and kind of guesswork. And, actually having a data-driven process as best we could, because there is still a lot of feeling associated with this, was a step in the right direction. So I really do appreciate that. I want to thank the rec committee and a lot of our engaged citizens in and outside of that committee for their feedback on this process. I think that made this a much more comprehensive and robust process. Getting that resident feedback, that pool member feedback, the reports and recommendations from the rec advisory committee was really tremendously helpful. And I think it led to some of the compromises that we see in this ordinance, as well as in the pool rules, which were a separate item, not incorporated into this ordinance. I recognize that not everybody is going to be happy with this outcome, but that is a compromise, and that's what this represents. So I do think that I do want to appreciate that the administration compromised, that the rec committee worked on compromised positions as well with the administration, that there was a lot of collaboration that led to this. And so I think that we have a lot of opportunities this summer. I'm really excited for those opportunities. I think there's a great chance that this could be a very, very positive pool season. Some of those factors are well beyond our control, such as weather and the like. But nonetheless, I think there have been some great ideas. I know the administration has some great plans. And I really am looking forward to bringing my family to the pool this summer. So I hope that many other residents do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Anything, Councilman Roman? Ditto, okay, be noted for the record, we have that on record.
I will reiterate all my colleagues' comments.
I guess I will close comment. I do want to reflect everybody's thank you to everybody mentioned without repeating, but I especially want to thank our pool subcommittee who provided some great recommendations and leadership in that area. I think that was a good move on the part of the rec committee. And this is a really good example of a working committee. I talk about our shade tree and our environmental commission very much being working committees. I think this is another example of a working committee really making recommendations to the township. And that's really what we're looking for. We rely on this advice and this feedback. So I thank them for that immensely. I will just kind of reiterate my comments from previous meetings. I think there is some room for cost savings that we can implement through some economies, through some strategic deployment of staff, through in the future our food vendor, agreements, things like that. Through real analysis of some of the services like the rec tent to see what the usage of that is and how many people are paying / using that facility and deciding whether that remains part of the pool fees or as some kind of extra or subscription or something like that. I think those are all options and we have to really carefully review. I do not want us and our staff, our department heads, or pool managers to fall into this thing and say, okay, the council approved these fees, let's kind of go on with business as usual. I am going to ask that we have in our August meeting an interim, or even in our July meeting, an interim discussion with our recreation, our director of community services to see what's going on, and I think we'll get numbers in the meantime to see what our registrations are looking like. But I want us to remember that we have a responsibility, even if we meet our revenue targets this year, to offset increases next year. This is the first year of a 3-year projected fee increase. And we need to be cognizant that it is our responsibility in every way possible to minimize the fee increases in the future. So this is what it needed to be, but we need to work hard to even stop those potential increases from happening, because eventually we are going to get to a point where people are not going to be able to afford this. And it is, I will spare you the economics lesson, but, you know, there is a point at which, you know, people will simply not be able to afford, and have to make decisions. So let's just keep that in mind, and I look forward to speaking with all of our pool leaders, as the season begins. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
Yes,
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes,
Mayor Tamboro.
Yes,
Mayor ordinance 2025-04 passes 5-0 and will be published according to law.
thank you, Madam Clerk. The next item on the agenda is ordinance number 2025-05 on second reading. Would you please read the title of this ordinance into record?
Fixing the salaries and compensation of the seasonal employees of the township.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Would somebody move the ordinance? So moved. Motion is made by Councilman Roman. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second is made by the Deputy Mayor. Now it's time for the public hearing on ordinance number 2025-05. The same public comment statement applies. Hearing none, I close the public hearing. Any council discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman,
yes,
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes,
Mayor Tamboro.
Yes,
Mayor ordinance 2025-05 passes 5-0 and it will be published according to law.
thank you, Madam Clerk. Being that we have no ordinances for introduction this evening, we will move on to our consent agenda, which includes 2 sets of minutes and 5 resolutions. Does anybody need to pull anything from the consent agenda? No? Would somebody care to move the consent agenda?
so moved.
Motion is made by the deputy mayor. Is there a second? Seconded. Seconds made by the councilman. At this time, I will call for public comments on the consent agenda items only. The same public comment statement. Hearing none, I close public comment. Any council discussion?
very glad to see item A4.
Yes, I thank our municipal clerk for putting that forward. I was happy to add that to the agenda. So thank you, Jen, for that. I'll just make one comment. We are doing our LoSAP approvals. That's the length of service award program for our fire department. And this is a tax deferred retirement plan that the township contributes to for the firefighters to meet certain thresholds as far as call response, meeting attendance, drills, things like that. So the individuals on the list that we were provided have made measurable contributions to the township through their participation. So I want to thank our firefighters for doing this. As somebody who has a LoSAP account from a previous municipality that I just found out actually has money in it. So I'm really psyched about that. This is a nice benefit, and it does grow. It's funds that are managed quite well. It is a really good reward for what the fire department is doing, and I have to say the requirements are stringent to get this. We're not giving away money back, so it's a very valuable program. I thank all of the firefighters out there who have made contributions in order to get these payments, and they're really the backbone of what we're doing. The cost of this is a minuscule fraction of what it would be to provide a career fire department for this municipality. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Holland,
Yes.
Councilwoman McGrath,
Yes.
Councilman Roman.
Yes,
Deputy Mayor McAvoy,
Yes,
Yes,
Mayor, K1 through K5 will be numbered R 52, 53, 54, 55, and 56.
thank you, Madam Clerk. We have no addenda this evening, so we have no unfinished business. I did walk on one item, which is the invitation from the Board of Education. I imagine everybody had the chance to review that correspondence, correct? Okay. Just wanna pull that up. just for the public's education, as this is a public document. The Verona Board of Education has invited the Township Council and our administration to join for a joint meeting of the organizations in order to build communication and collaboration. The objectives include to openly discuss topics that impact both our areas of responsibility and work toward a common goal. For example, we can discuss areas where we already have overlap, such as our shared services agreement, and determine if any adjustments should be made. Also discuss if there are other areas where we may cooperate to better serve the residents of Verona. The addition's residents would have the opportunity to ask questions may overlap for areas of responsibility. So just want to open this to the council for thoughts. We were provided 2 dates, but before we hit on the dates, is there a consensus on participation? Does anybody feel strongly one or the other? I have comments, but I do want to hear everybody else's first. Anybody? Okay, Councilman McGrath.
I just have a general question for Mr. O'Sullivan on where we are. We don't have a shared service agreement with the Board of Ed. It was being worked on, but I'm not sure if we ever reviewed a copy and where its status is. So I actually have that as my question.
There was a list of services provided from both sides that was circulated. I do believe it's in its final form. It's been reviewed by the Board of Ed, so I believe it is ready for final approval at this point. But we do have that shared service agreement in its final form for final execution. It needs a final approval and authorization council and execution on both sides. We can recirculate to both parties
Or circulate to both parties, because I don't think we've seen it.
I think we maybe saw it a long time ago, but yeah, not recently. Were there any points of disagreement between the administration and the superintendent that can be shared, or is that a closed session item?
I don't think there was any items of disagreement. It was just a matter of putting pen to paper on what all the items on the shared services actually were. There were no disagreements on what was actually on that list, or what should be provided on that list.
Okay.
Other questions, comments? This is something that had been done. You are on council.
We did one of these,
Yeah,
yes,
in 2018, maybe
maybe something around that, yeah.
17 or 18.
In my opinion, it's a good idea as to elected bodies to meet on occasion. It's been 7 years, I guess. My suggestion is we would ask to form a working group of the board president, vice president, mayor, the deputy mayor, and our administration to work out an agenda. I think we need to have an established agenda of topics that we can be prepared for to discuss. So everybody has all the data we need. I don't want us to be in the meeting and hear a question or offer a question and not have the answer either party have an answer to. And I would ask that aside from public comment and us answering questions, that we stick to that agenda. Does that make sense to everybody? Any objections on that? Okay, as far as dates, they offer 2 dates. I know one is immediately after our town council meeting.
The second.
I'm sorry, can you reiterate the dates, please?
It
March
was
25th.
Tuesday, March 25th. They're offering, I believe, regular board meeting dates, and then
April 8th.
Tuesday, April 8th. Tuesday, April 8th is the day after the township council meeting, so honestly, I would like to potentially avoid that one.
I know that,
Same.
And then you're not around.
no, I have a trade show that week.
Okay, March 25th.
Potentially be here.
Okay. Anybody, any other thoughts on March 25th?
Right. It's open. I have to double check some other meetings.
So why don't we,
Tentative.
all right, can we let me and Mr. O'Sullivan and Ms. Kieran know our availability in the next couple days on that? And if we can't do one of those, we can always offer an alternative date as well. do that. So let's, we need a vote on this, but Jen, how much time do we need to notice this meeting? 5 days, okay. Because the board is already noticed for the board. If it's one of the regular meetings, if it's not, they're going to notice it as well. We would call this a special meeting. Because we're not making any decisions as joint bodies, right? There's no business really to be discussed. You know, well, there's business to be discussed, but there's no official action to be taken at all. So we can call this a special meeting, the board, it would be a regular meeting of the board, a special meeting of the council. Right?
As long as you're not taking action, yeah, sure.
Okay.
Even with the special meeting, you can take action, but you shouldn't go off your agenda.
Correct. That's why I wanted a very prepared agenda. Councilwoman?
We're starting at their usual starting time. I'm looking at her letter and it doesn't actually speak to when we would be starting. I'm assuming it's their normal
Almost
meeting
up the
time.
clock. Yeah, I'll confirm.
That would be helpful in case they had any business they needed to conduct before they did this joint meeting. It's just not clear from the correspondence.
Correct. Yeah, they may want to do something.
Well, if they do their close, it's usually at 6.
Their close is at
And they're
6.
usually done and in the meeting by 7 o'clock.
They have some
I agree.
standard, they have some standard items and resolutions and personnel stuff.
They
that
may
have
have
to
needed
do.
to take action as their body before we have the joint meeting, so I just wanted to clarify.
In past joint meetings, they pass their consent agenda basically at the end of the joint meeting, just very quickly, they just take that action. They didn't really go through public, sorry.
I believe both the board president, vice president are joining us from Zoom right now, so they are picking up on our comments and we'll be able to
Great.
provide that information currently. So, all right, let's work on that.
That would be,
Yeah,
I
they
wouldn't have
have,
the ability.
I
to
guess
do-
we would, for the facility, we'd have to do it
Yeah,
there. I think that's how it was done in the past, right?
Yes.
The library, the auditorium or something like that, so they would handle it.
And
The
that
one
would
issue is
be-
they do not have they don't have the capacity with their technology or the setup to do Zoom participation. So I'm wondering if that might be something that we might be able to.
I mean, it's so, permanently installed here that it might. be
Yeah, I mean,
challenging.
maybe we can work together to see,
This
because
could
I
be a big
know
lift.
that is a big, I think we're so used to having that Zoom
Yeah.
participation now to get people involved. That should be one of those things that we work out. So, I mean, somebody can carry this device and so it might have to, I don't know, it might have to be us that hosts it for this to work. But
But
We'll
then
figure it
you have
out.
to Renotice their meeting.
I don't want to.
well, we'll let Mr. O'Sullivan figure that out. Yes, Councilwoman.
Just urge if you were gonna do something to definitely have run throughs and ahead of
Yes.
time. So I'll just say that, lessons were learned with live streaming from band concerts recently, so definitely do run throughs if you're gonna bring our equipment over.
We have put this on the road before for meetings about road construction and it worked remotely, so. But that is on our internet, so we're gonna have to figure that out. So. Lots of learning and growth to do.
Or, again, we have been very committed to transparency and work through our technology issues to make sure that there was the Zoom option. And that is our standard.
Yeah.
It would be great if, we want to invest in technology to meet that standard for all of our facilities, and it would be great if that was a townwide thing, but I think we need to, if we want to do this in March, we have to, I'm sure the administration can find the way forward and, we would love to see the public in person.
Yeah.
If they have a question to ask, so.
I think
Be
both
great.
options are helpful if we can do it. And
In
Yeah.
the meantime, I've confirmed that I can do March 25th, so.
I can, right now, it's free on my calendar as well.
Yeah, so we'll be in.
all right,
So it looks like we have consensus.
okay, I have something I can move, which is fine. We'll wait to hear from Councilman Roman.
Right now, it's looking like a probably yes.
Yes, okay.
I'm good to.
All right, so Madam Board President, Vice President, right now, it looks like a yes. We'll confirm with you and discuss details in the coming days. Council.
I have another matter of new business, just following up on Ms. Kiernan's email to us about committee appointments. I don't know if you were planning on, oh, okay.
No, if you have a.
Well, there were multiple committee appointments. I just want to comment about the fact that we do have a current opening on the Multicultural Inclusion and Accessibility Advisory Committee. And there is one applicant, and I did have a chance to speak with her today, and I'm really thrilled that this resident applied and has some skills that would be of great benefit to the committee. And so I was hoping we could move on her appointment tonight as one matter. The other, candidates all look interesting for the environmental and sustainable, but I don't know if those of you that serve on those committees had a chance to look through.
No, I honestly haven't been able to talk to anybody, and I usually like to talk to everybody for every committee, so. I'm gonna ask that we table that appointment for MIAC until the next meeting, just so we have that. That opportunity, unless, if somebody wants to move the appointment, I don't, that would, if you have 3 votes, go ahead.
Yeah,
Everybody else.
I was hoping that we could move it tonight. Because we do have an opening, we have one person.
I don't remember the name.
The name was Miss Renosco.
Give me 1 second, okay, so I can look.
It would, can I?
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
I was looking at this because obviously I focus on the green team because I'm the liaison there. That group, they need applicants. There's 6 openings on there, and there's others that are listed that I think there's more than 6 openings. I don't want to be greedy, but
Okay.
if we can get as many people as possible on that team, they did a tremendous amount last year.
Yeah.
I just, and I think they could use some extra people on there to really help out, or I see people getting burned out.
Okay.
I don't want to see anybody drop off.
Maybe we can table it, and maybe you and I can have a sidebar specifically
Okay.
on all of the candidates, because there are some
Perfect.
other great ones. And just reconfirm how much green team needs. That would be
Absolutely.
great, because
I don't know
Yeah.
if Green Team even has a form
They don't
of
have.
business. So that is problematic.
okay.
That's the word,
Well,
the
then
word I
maybe
had when I
we'll-
saw all this.
Okay, so why don't we, I guess we'll call our people and then talk about this at the next meeting.
Yeah, but that's always good. Okay, that item, we don't have to table anything because we didn't
Yeah.
move anything, so by the end of next week. We can.
Yeah.
Okay, any other new business? We will be we're gonna do public comment, then at this point, anybody who wants to discuss, same public comment statement applies. Yeah, my Zoom is not up. Ms. Pearson.
Evening, just a suggestion, and I heard Councilwoman McGrath mention it at the beginning of the meeting. It would be really helpful for members of the public to be able to access a draft copy of the budget while you're running through it. It was very difficult to follow along with the discussion that you guys had. I was incapable of putting numbers together or even understanding what those numbers were associated with because, again, there's nothing in front of us. And I do remember in years past, they put draft budgets up. We understand their drafts, that they're subject to immense amounts of changes because this is just the first run before finalization. But let's also remember that every single ordinance and resolution you put up are also drafts that are subject to change before passage and adoption. So I'm just asking if this council, our clerks and our CFO could put that up online before the next draft, before the next budget meeting. And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Any other public comment? Hearing none, I close public comments. I don't see an objection to putting up the draft budget, I mean, we just note it's subject to change. It is a public document already because it's been created, so it can be open, so we might as well just put it up on the website. Right, it's not deliberative, so. Let's just put it up there. Any objections from anybody? Okay, this easy. Thank you, Ms. Pearson, for the reminder. Sometimes we don't remember the public doesn't have access to those things because we get them in nice notebooks in front of us. We have already made a motion to go into executive session. We passed a resolution, in fact. Will we be taking any official action? No? Okay, hearing none. We will be moving to executive session from which the public is excluded. Let's take about a 5-minute break or 2-minute break and